Hello there, my little arse scratchers, and welcome to another episode of Mysteries of the Unexplained. I'm your local dole officer, Anne-Marie Gahan, and here is my assistant dole officer.
Liam. Liam is my name new on the job.
Liam O'Muraku, and myself and Liam, I'll just have you know, will be checking your bank accounts daily for any suspicious looking expenditure. Did you buy a coffee for $4.50 in Starbucks? Why are you paying $4.50 for coffee in Starbucks? You're on the dole.
Oh. Very strict officer, very strict officer.
I take my job very seriously, Liam. It's your first day on the job, but I think you will find that I'm fair, but I am firm. How are ya? I haven't seen you in ages.
You saw me the other day, you lying bitch. Yeah, I'm absolutely A1, gorgeous day here in Ireland. Everything's fantastic with me. Unfortunately, last night the fox did get a hen that was after getting out. We couldn't find her to put her in the night time. She was nesting in a ditch, and we thought we'd get her this morning, but the fox, in fact, got her instead.
Another chicken bites the dust on the good garden farm. Ah, well, you big Egypt. How many? But you've been trying to kill them off lately now because you're losing them very, very quickly. How many do you have left now?
How dare you, for starters? Don't call me a big Egypt. You try find a hen that has ran away, for starters, and mind your own fucking business. I'm going to report you on that dog because he looked at me when I met you the other day and his eyes were like, help me, kind sir, help me. And your boyfriend Dave actually whispered that to me as well as I was walking. He said, please help me. And I wasn't 100% sure, but I just continued on my walk, and now looking back, I'm feel riddled with guilt because I didn't act. You absolute bollocks.
I have the two of them locked up in the back garden here, and I gave them nail scissors to cut the grass with. They were very bold over the weekend. Very bold. It was great to see you. It was really nice to see you and go for a walk. It was probably like a year since I've seen. No, it was probably about 6 months though, wasn't it?
October, I think.
For our out-of-country listeners, Ireland has been in extended lockdown since about 1999 at this stage, and we're hoping to come out of it somewhere in 2040. So we have no idea how to talk to each other. We didn't talk for the first 10 minutes that we saw each other. We just walked along, exploring the woodland and the bluebells, and we're very socially awkward, as if we weren't bad enough in the first place. But that is neither here nor there. I do apologise for our tardiness this week. I was in fact commandeered, some would say kidnapped, by my younger sister, chained to a railing in her brand new mansion in the country and made to paint it for the entire fucking week. If I ever see a dusty pink/grey colour again, I will claw my own eyeballs out. But it's beautiful and we're so happy and it's just gorgeous, and long may you wear. But if I am not going back to paint that hallway, bitch, that is all on you. I couldn't, no, not doing it. But William, because I was so late, I have an extra special little story for you today, and I think you are just gonna lap this up. This is from the UFO fucking back catalogue there, and I can't believe that we've never spoken about this before, which just shows us how thorough we are in our research. I sent you a few lines there. I
got them and I bent them. I got them, I printed them out, skimmed over them, lit the fire. It's roaring inside.
Thank you, Will. Your professionalism never ceases to amaze me. We're going to dive right into this bitch. Hold on to your knickers, lads, because this might just scare them off you. Ground Zero. In the early hours of December 26, 1980, there's little outward sign of activity at the twin US Air Force bases of Bentwaters and Woodbridge. The bases lie a few hundred yards from each other. Between them lies Rendlesham Forest. But soon the quiet skies are disturbed when reports begin coming in of strange blinking lights over the dense woods. The task of investigating these strange appearances falls to John Burroughs and Jim Peniston. They drive into the forest and begin to explore the area on foot. The air was filled with static electricity and the hairs on their arms and on the back of their necks was standing on end. It was difficult to walk properly, and they described the experience as being akin to wading through deep water. All the time, the lights were ahead of them, getting brighter and more clearly defined as they ventured deeper into the forest, closer to whatever was out there. Up ahead was a small clearing, brightly illuminated. They had reached their goal. Suddenly, as they approached, there was a silent explosion of light. They instinctively hit the ground, fearing that they'd be hit by debris from the bright flash of light. Peniston, seeing no apparent harm from this immense flash, stood up, and what came clearly into view was clearly nothing to do with an aircraft crash. Peniston looked to his right and saw Burrows engulfed in a huge beam of light, which appeared to be coming from above. The light encompassed Burrows totally. Then Peniston saw that what had first appeared to be a sphere of light in front of him had dissipated and now had the appearance of a craft of some sort. Staggered, Peniston took stock of the situation. In the clearing was a small metallic craft. It was about 3 metres high and maybe 3 metres across at the base. The craft was roughly triangular in shape and appeared to be either hovering just above the ground or perhaps resting on legs at each edge of the object, as if it was on a tripod. It had a bank of blue lights on its side and a bright white light on the top. There was, however, no sound whatsoever. As Peniston approached the object, he saw strange symbols on the side. They were unlike anything he'd ever seen before, and the nearest match he could come up with was ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Peniston had the presence of mind to take a number of photographs and sketch both the craft and the symbols in his police notebook. Finally, Peniston plucked up the courage to touch the object. It felt hard and smooth. This combined with the look of the hull close up made him think of a smooth, opaque black glass. He then moved to touch the symbols. He recalls the sensation thus in his notes.
The skin of the craft was smooth to touch, almost like running your hand over glass, void of seams and imperfections until I ran my fingers over the symbols. The symbols were nothing like the rest of the craft. They were rough, like running my fingers over sandpaper.
As Peniston touched the symbols, the white light on the top of the craft exploded. A number of further sightings of strange lights on the horizon came into view. At one point, the object was so close they flared up and became so intense that Peniston was fear-struck and temporarily blinded by what was before him. Peniston removed his hand from the craft, and as soon as he did, the light dimmed and the sense of panic receded. After some time, and to Peniston's utter amazement, the craft lifted slowly off the ground. Again, everything seemed to move in slow motion, with the craft taking 2 or 3 minutes to rise up above the trees around the edge of the small clearing. All the time, even with the object rising above the ground, there was no noise whatsoever. Because the clearing was small and the trees were dense, at times the object seemed as if it had to manoeuvre through the trees. Finally, when it had cleared the trees, it accelerated away in an instant. Peniston, methodical and professional in the face of everything, wrote the following observation in his police notebook.
Speed? Impossible.
Burrows has few coherent memories of what happened after the explosion of light. After he threw himself to the ground, he recalls seeing a red, oval, sun-like object in the clearing, but does not recall the craft. For him, the time hitting the ground until the UFO departed seemed like a few seconds, whereas for Jim, who was inspecting the craft, it took many minutes. Peniston and Burrows, still in a state of considerable shock, attempted to relocate the UFO and had thought it was going to land again, but it didn't, and the UFO eventually departed to the east, out over the coast. Still confused and disorientated, they eventually decided to make their way back to the forest. As they did so, they passed back through the small clearing where they had their encounter. Still trying to process what had happened to them, they looked around. Perhaps if they found nothing, they'd somehow convince themselves that it had been some sort of shared hallucination. But it was not to be. In the very centre of the clearing, on the hard, frozen ground, were 3 indentations. They were recent. Something heavy, probably weighing several tons, judging by the hardness of the ground and the depth of the indentations, had clearly been resting there. When they looked more closely, they saw if they drew an imaginary line between the 3 indentations, the shape formed would be a near-perfect equilateral triangle. As further confirmation, they noticed the branches had been snapped off the trees around the edge of the clearing, where the object had smashed its way in from above and then done the same on the way out. It would sound absurd were it not for the fact that this was precisely what Penniston had just witnessed. They left the clearing and rendezvoused with the rest of their team before making their way back to RAF Bentwaters, the main operating base. They had been missing for over 45 minutes and had caused panic amongst their fellow...
You're dead. Now, just sit down now, you.
Jesus.
You sit down and go to sleep. Good man. Now, continue on.
I'll come down there. I swear to God, Will, we are doing our next recording on the fucking moon, but I'm sure that your family will reach you there as well. Yeah. They had been missing for over 45 minutes and had caused panic amongst fellow colleagues. Both their watches were running 45 minutes slow, although they said they had been gone for a mere matter of minutes.
I'd say they were just Casio kind of, or else. What are those ones that were all the rage? Do you know the ones with the calculator? Like, my watch is a calculator. Yeah. They were, Jesus. No,
Baby
G Shock watches. Do you know?
You had one in pink.
Sorry, who didn't have one for starters? If you didn't have one, you're not cool. You can't sit with me in school.
Loser.
And do you remember, like, they were extremely overpriced? Like, they were literally a piece of fucking plastic.
Shit. A piece of shit.
And it was just like, I don't know how much they were, but at the time I remember they were extremely overpriced. And it's just, why? Like, why did we fall victim to that? And then there was, like, the calculator watches. And then there was ones that shot a laser out of it.
Oh my God, maybe this is what it was over the forest in Rendlesham. But I just want to say I never got a Baby G because there were 7 kids in my family and you wouldn't have the money for it. I probably got like a Baby Z or something from the
we can't talk
shop.
Anymore.
That was like,
we can't talk anymore.
Yeah, you were so spoiled. You were like, can I have a pink Baby G with a calculator for Christmas? Oh yeah. Now, Will, at this stage, we're going to take a little break. We're going to take a break in the story. Now, number one, have you heard the story before? No, I did it just before I came on and now I feel all empty and nice and all.
I did hear this story before because I watched it on an episode of Ancient Aliens.
Oh, that show that you're always battering on about.
That show is basically the Lord's work.
The Bible.
The Bible, according to aliens. I did hear about this before. Very interesting case. Very interesting.
For those of you who haven't heard of it before, I knew the name, but I didn't know much about it. But this is really strange because this is kind of, in UFO circles, this is kind of like deemed to be like the British Roswell, like.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, very big case. There was an awful lot of witnesses and documented accounts of what happened. And I think maybe it was because before our time, because I was a little bit born a little bit after that. But then I know about Roswell, which is before our time as well. So I think that it was very much hush-hushed at the time. And the Ministry of Defence decided that, it wasn't really anything to be worried about. But of course they would say that. But before I continue on here, these are twin air bases that were in Suffolk, which is kind of like, I think it borders Essex in Britain. So it's a county, and this is a kind of a strange setup you have here because you have like twin air force bases, Bentwaters and Woodbridge, both very phallic names, I thought, but but they're co-managed between the US and the UK. So is Jim Penniston, I think he might actually, you gave him a lovely Northampton fucking accent there. I think he might be American, but sure, we'll just go with it.
No, he's from wherever I did it.
That's exactly where he's from. Now, you might think, right, okay, this is a bit mad. Like, okay, they see lights out in the forest and they go out, and these two boys, they split up from the rest of their privates, and they went in to investigate it, and they say that one of them says that he touched the craft. The other guy says he was blinded by the light and fell to the ground. So if this had happened kind of just once, you might be like, okay, maybe they were like off their tits on mushrooms that they found in the forest, or like, sure, God knows what was happening there. Mm-hmm. But the really crazy thing about this is that 2 nights later, it happens again. And this time, A higher member of personnel, Commander Halt, is sent out. I believe that he's American and he would be one of the big boys in charge here. He had been informed about what happened a few nights before and he was like, oh yeah, like write a report on it, whatever. But he kind of poo-pooed it. He was a little bit like UFOs my arse, because these guys just didn't believe in UFOs. Like there's loads of written evidence like that they were just like, before this happened, none of them had any interest in this. And the first thing they thought when they saw it happening was that there was some kind of light air craft or something like that, or that it was like maybe a Soviet drone, that they were in trouble. So they're looking at this from a kind of defense point of view. But then things get even crazier. So 2 nights later, Commander Halt is now in charge. There are reports again of lights in the sky, really strange lights hovering in the sky out in the forest, and he takes 3 men with him and they've all gone out into the forest to investigate. Halt called for light-alls, which are portable floodlights to illuminate the forest, but they're all either malfunctioning, low on gas, or both, so he can't get these lights working. While waiting for some functioning light-alls to arrive, Halt has led 3 men to the clearing where the UFO was seen to land in the early hours of December 26th and has undertaken an examination of the scene, noticing indentations on the ground and damage to the trees attributed to the UFO. Radiation readings have been taken with a Geiger counter and seem to correlate with where the UFO was seen to land, and hotspots have been recorded with a night vision device. Halt has been recording his observations on his handheld cassette recorder.
Oh, Walkman.
Oh. And now Commander Halt makes notes into said tape recorder.
I also know what this was now, actually. I've figured it out just only recently. I will withhold the information like a classified document until you give me your thing, and then I shall tell you what it actually is.
Okay, Will. And in the meantime, if you could just read the fucking lines.
Oh,
that I've given to you there.
Oh, sorry. That's what that
great.
pause was.
You're now an American commander, okay? So just keep that in mind.
0148, we're hearing strange sounds out of the farmer's barnyard. Wait, no, I'll say that again. 0148, we're hearing very strange sounds out of the farmer's barnyard. Animals, they're very, very active, making an awful lot of noise. Over.
You just saw a light? Where? Wait a minute, slow down. Where? Oh no, wait now, that's your line.
Oh, Jesus. Can you please stick to your own lines? Please. Annie.
I highlighted these, I don't know what.
Yeah, I know.
Then...
You just saw a light. Where? Wait a minute. Slow down. Where?
Right on this position here, straight ahead, in between the trees. There it is again. Watch, straight ahead off my flashlight. There now, sir. There it is again.
Hey, I see it too. What is it?
We don't know, sir.
It's a strange red light. Looks like it may be a quarter to half a mile, maybe further out. I'm going to switch off.
There is a break in the tape here and perhaps a lapse of a few minutes.
Is it back again?
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Well, douse those flashlights again. Let's go back to the edge of the clearing so we can get a better look at it. See if you could get the star scope on it. The light's still there, and all the barnyard animals have gone quiet now. We're about 150 or 200 yards from the site. Everything else is just deadly calm. There is no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead.
Sir, it's yellow.
It's actually fucking red, you dumbass. I saw a yellow tinge in it too. Weird. Appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. It's brighter than it has been. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way.
Pieces of it are shooting off.
Pieces of it are shooting off.
There is no... Oh no, this is your line.
Please stick to the script, bitch. There is no doubt about it. This is weird.
To the left. 2 lights. One just behind the other.
Keep your flashlights off. There is something very, very strange. Okay, pieces are falling off it again.
Sir, it just moved to the right, sir.
Okay, we're looking at the thing. We're probably about 200 to 300 yards away. It looks like an eye twinking at you. Oh, wait, no. An eye winking at you.
Twink. Twinking.
still moving from side to side, and when you put the star scope on it, it sort of looks like a hollow center, a dark center. It's
like a pupil, sir.
Yeah, like a pupil of an eye looking at you, winking, and the flash is so bright to the star scope that it almost burns your eye. We've passed the farmer's house and are crossing the next field, and now we have multiple sightings of up to 5 lights with a similar shape and all, but they seem to be steady now rather than pulsating. We've just crossed the creek. And, God, Annie, you're really putting me to the test this week. At 2:44, we're at the stars. At 2:44, we're at the far side of the second farmer's field, and made a sighting again, about 110 degrees. 3:05. We see strange strobe-like flashes, rather sporadic, but there's definitely something, some kind of phenomenon. Directly north, we've got 2 strange objects, a half-moon shape dancing about with coloured lights on them. The half-moons will now turn into full circles, as though there was an eclipse or something for a minute or two. I'm frazzled.
Thank you, Commander Holt. In the next to last segment on the tape, we hear Holt and his team experience an extremely close encounter. Listening to the recording, one can clearly hear a mixture of bewilderment, tension, excitement, and fear in the men's voices over the next few short exchanges.
Now 3:15. Now we've got an object about 10 degrees directly south. They're both heading north. Hey, here comes the one from the south. He's coming towards us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground.
Colours!
This is unreal.
Incredulous laugh. At the point when Holt observes the beam of light coming down to the ground, panic shouts can be heard in the background. Holt has clarified that what had happened at this point was a pencil-thin beam of light, like a laser, struck a point on the ground directly in front of them, about 10 feet ahead, illuminating the ground. As he speculated in later years...
We just stood there in awe, you know. Is this a warning? Is this a signal? Is this a communication? What is it? A weapon?
They continued to make notes of the incident until the last one at 0400 hours, when they decide to head back to the base, with several objects still very visible in the sky. At the same time, John Burroughs, who had had the experience the first night, had gone back out into the fields and later reported this. All of a sudden in front of us, we had a blue transparent light come streaking towards us, and then a white object kind of appeared up above and then floated down as if it was sitting out there in the distance. I asked for permission to go towards it to see if I could get a closer look. As we started going towards it, it appeared on my right and started coming towards us. Sergeant Bastinza was on my right. He went down on the ground. He saw me go into the light. He saw me disappear. He saw the light explode, and I was gone for several minutes before I reappeared. I have no recollection of it. I have no memory of what happened. The next thing I know, I was standing in the field, and whatever it was gone. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Now, Jim Peniston, who was there the first night and heard about the objects the second night, said this later on. I believe the objects that I saw at close quarter were extraterrestrial in origin, and that the security services of both the United States and the United Kingdom have attempted, both then and now, to subvert the significance of what occurred at Rendlesham Forest and RAF Bentwaters by the use of well-practiced methods of disinformation. The file was sent to the MOD, which is the British Ministry of Defence, but seemed to be massively downplayed in their memo and didn't get there until 3 weeks later. Now, we can all just take a little breath now, because I think I'm all just a little bit rattled by what just happened, because there was a definite UFO landing in the fucking forest just across the Irish Sea from us, William, and I didn't fucking know about it, okay? Just to let you know, I got all this information from a book called, Where the Fuck Did I Leave the Book? It's on my desktop. Let me just find the book, and thank you. I'll just in the meantime check that we're still recording, because sometimes I forget to press record. You wouldn't believe it.
Oh, I'd kill you if you weren't.
Encounter in Rendlesham Forest. And the book actually is by, let me go to the front of the book here and see who it's by. I read it over the week there that I was at home. So I was painting walls, reading about aliens. Painting walls, reading about aliens. But it has interviews from John Burroughs and Jim Peniston from the US Air Force. So they actually, the two first boys were actually American, which are fucking Northampton accent. And it has loads of information and transcripts from all the cassette recordings that were made that night. And it's actually fucking terrifying. So, Will, what the fuck do you think happened out in the middle of the forest in 1980?
Well, you have a list here of possible explanations, and on your list you have mass hallucination brought on by drugs. No.
Will! Oh, wait now. Something just started playing on my thingy here. Did I ask you? Did I? Oh, that's me doing a tutorial on how to draw a cat. Did I ask you to read off my possible explanations? No. I asked you for once in your life to think for yourself. I know you find it really difficult. Could maybe
Okay, I'll read off my possible explanations. I think like maybe it might be like kids messing, or like maybe like a fertilizer truck on fire, time travel, interaction with another dimension, extraterrestrial visitation, Soviet drone, a nuclear incident, a guard force test, a lighthouse, mass hallucination brought on by drugs. I don't know, some one of those. But my main one would be, Annie. Now, you did say the date that this happened on the second night, which was the 26th of December. And we all know who comes around on the 25th of December. And maybe someone was still hanging around. So maybe it was old Saint Nick. And he got a bit lost. It would explain the lights in the sky. It fits very nicely into the time frame. And all the different colours. Red is the Christmas colour.
It is. Well, you were so clever, because in all my reading of the book over the past week, I didn't fucking even think that it was the big man himself.
Yeah, you see, that's why you need me, Annie. That's why you need me. So I think it's best just to put this one to bed and be like that this is evidence of old Saint Nick in the 1980s. Maybe it also was that kind of, do you know the old Saint Nick that Coca-Cola depicted in the 80s, 90s? That kind of holidays is coming. That's Saint Nick with the coloured lights. Nowadays it's more like, oh, I want my Christmas tree to look like a warm glow light, well, I prefer a cool light. I like an icicle. Whereas in the 80s it was colour. It was all those different coloured lights and stuff. So he was just typical 80s Santy.
Okay, well, after that fucking, stream of consciousness bullshit from your childhood, it's now time for this.
Sorry, Annie, you never read out your possible explanations list.
Backwards.
I did.
Really anything.
I did.
We'd just like to clear up a misunderstanding from the last segment. That Will just read my list of possible explanations backwards and pawned it off as his own. Will skating through life with no repercussions as per usual.
Excuse me, I don't see Santa Claus on your list. You fucking bitch.
We have a little. If you could just simmer down there now. We have a little question that came in from Jennifer. And Jennifer, thank you very much, and I appreciate you acting as if Will's opinion means anything in this life to anyone in this world. Will, if you could trade lives with someone, who would it be?
Well, I think you know me well enough now, guys, to know that I would trade my life with Annie. Well, who do you think it would be?
Victoria Beckham.
Annie, who do you think it would be?
Victoria Beckham.
Prue Halliwell.
Oh my God! Can I have 1 week without this witch coming up?
Early 2000s, 2010 hit series, Charmed. That's who I would be. The fictional character, not Shannon Doherty, who played her, because she doesn't have any supernatural powers. I would be, in fact, the fictional character, Prue Halliwell, so I could use my telekinesis to shove Annie into next week and get her the fuck out of my life. Thank you.
Jennifer, I'm sorry for that really disappointing answer, but then again, whatever.
Maybe Jennifer likes my answer. How do you stop speaking for Jennifer, Annie? Stop speaking for her. It's very rude. Jennifer, you can private message me and tell me if you think that was if you were inspired, if you were taken aback by that answer, if you know me already and you were like, listen, Will, I knew it was Prue Halliwell, I just needed confirmation.
Fucking
no
what
apologies
is
now.
I just
Would you be apologising for me, Annie?
I've been apologising for you from the length of it. What did you do to yourself?
None of your business. Continue on.
Will, what do you think would happen if humans found out that UFOs were actually real?
I think we'd have to have a benefit concert starring a lot of celebrities, right? to say like it would kind of be like Live Aid, but it'd be more for like it'd be called Apology Aid. So it'd be for all those conspiracy theorists, all those people that like we would have been like, oh, she's fucking crazy. All those people would be like, oh, you believe in aliens? We'd have to be just like, dial 1800, apologise so we can donate to these people whose lives we've ruined. Actually, are bad. And next we have Ariana Grande singing her hit song, Sorry, I Believe in Aliens, newly released out this week.
Oh, well, I'd like a little bar of how that might go.
Sorry, I believe in aliens.
I think you're right about the benefit concert, because that's what we seem to do when anything big happens in the world. Are we going to have a COVID benefit concert? We probably are.
We actually already had a COVID benefit concert.
What?
Annie.
When?
We had that at the start of COVID. They had a COVID benefit concert.
Who was that?
Annie, I can't. I'm not your PA, Annie. You can look that up with Google. We did have one. Who was that? Where do I do my shopping? Pay my bills. No, Annie. You'll have to figure this out your own, please. But sure, we'll find out. We will find out this summer anyway.
Oh, when all those documents are released.
They're already after releasing 2 videos, and the Pentagons have said, yeah, these are UFOs. One was this year, one was in 2018, I think.
Oh yeah,
so,
we've seen
and now
that.
they have to give over all those files in June.
I kind of think that nothing's really going to. I think, do you know that there's a theory out there that the whole COVID thing was manufactured and thrown out into the world so they could just slip these UFO documents in there into the middle of it, and people would just be too tired to react. Yeah, that was kind of like, they just want to go down the pub. That they'd be like, yeah, I don't care if there's aliens, I just want to fucking do a bit of shopping. Yeah, we know aliens are real. I just want to go out and get a Tinder ride, as somebody told me just before we started this podcast. Hey, listen.
I don't blame Dave.
Austrian man.
I don't mind Dave.
Austrian man fined for provocatively farting at police has fine reduced. An Austrian man who was fined €500 for loudly farting near police officers.
Sounds like somebody we all know.
Has had his fine reduced to €100 after launching an appeal. The unidentified man was whacked with a fine in Vienna after offending public decency by farting provocatively at police in June of last year. However, he then challenged the fine in what must have been a very strange day in court for all concerned. The man told the courts that breaking wind was merely a biological process. Well, you can't argue with that, I suppose. The man said if even he had done it deliberately, his fart was covered by freedom of expression. In Austria, freedom of expression is not limited to just speech, but also covers noises and communication in other forms. But the sound must have communicative intent, which this bloke's fart didn't, according to the court. Apparently, nobody could understand it. Thank you for joining me. This has been Annie for Willie's Bizarre Bollocks. That is very
close to home, I think, for you. And I'm very... I want to commend you for speaking your truth today. And just telling your case and standing up off the toilet to tell your story. And you know what? You're a stronger woman than I'll ever be. You truly are. I mean, we've had recently on the podcast, we did have Fartgate, where you passed it off as, oh, my little chum-chum. And we all knew that it was your knickers had been blown out. That there was a whole washy was in shock, and possibly the chair that you were sitting on was now in ribbons. But I just want to say that you really sneaking this story in, changing the names. You did have that court date. There was no house around.
Sorry, Washy's barking. Washy's now barking to tell you, would you please?
No.
This joke is just too long.
Let your truth.
It's too long.
Annie, stand in your own truth. And that there was no house renovation, and that you were in fact up in court over farting in those police officers' faces. But you know what, Annie? I think the world is changing, and fair due. I tip my hat to you, and I trumpet you. I trumpet you as you walk.
No, Will. I trumpet you.
Annie, go on, do one there. Go on.
You're such a little bitch. Listen, I think it's time for us to go here now. It's been hard coming back after a week of holidays, but I do it for the love of the people. I give the people what they want.
Farts. Gas.
So you could join us next week for a very badly researched and pointless story from Will. Thank you for listening. Join us next time on Mysteries
of the Unexplained. You can wake up now, listeners. You can wake up now.